Welcome. Everybody is joining. We're going to give a few more minutes. Hi, I see everybody hopping on now, although we're also recording this and everything will be on YouTube. So you all may be watching this after the fact as well. But for those of you live, welcome. Excited to have you here. Let's take advantage of the chat, especially as we have a little grace time for those who are running late, of which I was also one of them. So in the chat, tell me, where are you calling in from? Any information you want to give us about yourself and your money journey. What do you do? What do you want to do? This is the time to network. I always get questions about how do I network now that there aren't so many networking events and they're talking about in person. I think virtual networking is way better, not only because you can wear pajama pants, but also you can connect with people all over the world and you can do it right now in the chat. So put your LinkedIn in there. Be explicit about what you're looking for. You want clients? Are you hiring? Do you have a small business, a big business, right? So, don't be afraid to say, hello, I'm seeing New Jersey. I'm in West Hollywood, California. Okay, so I also see some more California. I see Boston, Massachusetts. I love your yellow blazer from Idaho. Yes, I just bought it. So I appreciate you commenting on it. We've got, good to see you, Fatima, from Brooklyn. Oh, we've got the South, we've got the Midwest, East Coast, West Coast, any international here, and a financial coach. Melissa, love you, Melissa. Fabulous. Okay, good. And something I love that Stephanie just did is she said an intention that she has, which is she wants to work on a passive stream of income with a smiley emoji. We like that smiley emoji. So same thing for everybody here. Intentions. Where are you at in your money journey? Where do you want to be? How can we all help each other? We are now 5 minutes past the hour, so I think that we're going to get started. As I said in the very beginning, we are recording this, so no worries if you are, needing to jump off or I'm speaking a little bit quickly. You can rewatch it later. I also am going to see about sharing my slides as well. Ooh, good, Fatima. I want to work in building a successful bookstore. This fantastic. I'm loving it. So let me go ahead and get started with my presentation. I will also, oh, good, Maryland. I'm from DC originally. I'll also introduce myself because you might be wondering, who is this person? I like her blazer. I hope you like my blazer. So let's go ahead and share screen, pray to the internet and technology gods that this will work. Now, of course, I'm sure this is not full screen. So let us see if we can make it full screen. Fingers crossed. There we go. I think we're good. Give me the thumbs up in the chat if I'm doing this right. Okay. Of course, I'm having trouble looking in the chat. Hee. Let's see. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get started right here and right now. And then I'm going to figure out what's going on with my screen when it's time to jump back into the chat. That being said, you all should be using the chat as I speak. Use this as a time to learn from each other. So wanted to introduce myself real quickly. Claire Wasserman here. I am the founder and author of Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational network. We are a global community and of course a book here all about helping women advance professionally, financially. I am personally driven by power to help women basically have freedom of choice in their life. You can do whatever you want to do. That being said, how do you do it? You need money first. So that's where we're beginning. I also have a master's certificate in behavioral finance and financial psychology. And that is what today's class is all about. I also am the host of the John Hancock podcast, Friends Who Talk About Money. So go Google that. I think you'll really enjoy it and join Ladies Get Paid. Of course, it's free. Everybody is welcome. Ladiesgetpaid.com and Instagram. If you want to be in touch with me, don't email me. I mean, you can, but good luck. I have hives thinking about my inbox. So Instagram is probably the best place to connect. I'm at Claire Gets Paid. All right. And then a quick shout out to SoFi. The reason that this webinar is free is because they have made it possible. If you don't know about them already, lucky you. Now you have a treat today. You're going to go check them out at SoFi.com. In short, they are a personal finance company on a mission to help their members get their money right and realize their ambitions. It's basically a one-stop shop for everything money related with real people who will help you. That I made up that last line. It is true. There are real people that will help you. That's actually my personal favorite thing. And this is the second event in a 3-part series that we're actually doing with SoFi. If you want to check out the first event that we did, go to Ladies Get Paid on Instagram. It was an Instagram live that I did with one of their certified financial professionals, all about freedom. So really it was about getting your savings in order, and paying off debt. And then we'll talk about the last event at the end of this, but you're here for today. And today is all about really rethinking, well, I should say understanding our relationship with money and then figuring out what's not working for us. Okay. So just really, and through a lens of psychology, right? This isn't just about sort of be more confident or have, positive affirmations, though we will talk about those, but really getting an understanding from positive psychology aspect, cognitive psychology, behavioral finance. So we'll dig into those terms a little bit and understand where we've maybe have gotten those beliefs from. Okay. And the ways that we are getting in our own way, both consciously, and also subconsciously. Then we're going to, after identifying, our roadblocks with money and our relationship with money. Okay, well, now what are we actually going to do? I am all about the tangible, all about the actionable. So out of today, my goal for you is that you really have a concrete plan, at least 1 to 3 steps. You've identified the behavior that you might want to change, the belief that you have around it, where that belief came from. And then, like I said, specific 1, 2, and 3 steps. What are you going to do differently? Okay. And then really at the end, it's not so much working backwards from, what's not working, let me fix it, to really being proactive and positive. I want to cultivate a financial well-being. Well, what does that actually mean? What are my values? And how do I make sure that I'm aligning, my spending, my saving with those values? Again, done in a proactive way. Lots to talk about. My joke here is sort of like, as you learn about all these things, make sure that you also have a therapist, okay? Because this is going to bring up a lot of stuff for you, and that is a good thing. So thank you for being here. And I hope that you've come with an open mind and a blank notebook and a pen. Let's start with understanding our relationship with money. I'll begin with myself, because that is how I learn, is reflecting first and foremost. So in thinking about what are money decisions that I have made in my life that have not worked for me. Okay. And in this case, it was a decision not to invest. Okay. Now, it really weighed on me for years. I knew, and I put that in quotation marks, right? I knew all the reasons that I should be investing. So I want you to think about something that you, quote, know you should be doing or not doing, because rationally, it gains interest, right? We know that investing gains interest. It's compound interest over time, which is essentially free money. Investing is good for, a financial safety net. We're not going to get into, risky and non-risky investments. That's another time. But there are reasons, absolutely reasons to invest, particularly in, retiring comfortably. You need to have investments for that. And then also, I'd like to be wealthy. Okay. I want to be really wealthy. That's not greedy to say. Okay. It's not greedy to say. But why was I not doing it? For years, I would not invest my money. Okay. I would say to myself, it's too risky. I don't have enough. I did. I had it. Everybody, if you've got $100, you have enough to put into an investment account. Okay. But I still wasn't doing it. Then I realized I was holding on to some baggage from the past, to some beliefs that I carried around money because of some things in my childhood and at the beginning of my career. And so as I was researching, I started to research to figure out what was, quote, wrong with me. I'm going to keep saying quote, because these are all just beliefs that we have or that I had about myself. These were not truths, but I thought I was, quote, bad at money. Something was wrong with me. And as I'm Googling this stuff, I stumble upon this field called behavioral finance. So in short, and by the way, this is kind of a new field. I think it really sort of took hold in the 80s. And in short, it really takes the findings of cognitive psychology, which is really the study of sort of perception and of memory, and then it applies it to financial behaviors. In layman's terms, it's basically trying to figure out why we get in our own way. Why do we make emotional decisions, okay, around money and not, quote, rational decisions around money? And I put these three guys up here, Thaler, Tversky, and Kahneman. Of course, I'm mispronouncing their names, but they are sort of the, quote, grandfathers, okay? Grandfathers of behavioral finance, if you're interested in learning more. And as I was digging more into this concept, I learned about this thing called money script. And by the way, if you are here live in the chat, talk to me about, what is resonating here with you. If you know this stuff already, if there's any guidance that you can share. I mean, I know we've got some financial advisors in the group here, so I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure everybody else watching as well. So there's this thing called a money script, and I want to give a shout out to Brad and Ted Klontz. It's a father and son team. They were my professors at Creighton University, where I got my master's certificate in this. They came up with this thing called the Klontz Money Script Inventory, KMSI. We love a good acronym. Highly recommend that you check them out at yourmentalwealthadvisors.com. You can take quizzes there. I'm going to walk you through what those scripts are. But beyond what we're talking about today, I do encourage you to go Google what they're up to. So in short, a money script, it's basically beliefs that you have around money that you may not even be aware of. Where did you get these beliefs? This is the therapy part, okay? It came down from generations and generations above you, things that were modeled, right? The behavior that you saw, the behavior that you were told, okay? They are things that you believe to be true. I'm going to say that again, believe to be true, not that they're necessarily true, though that gets into philosophy, right? What's truth? It keeps you in a comfort zone. So even if it is hurting you, this script that you have is not working for you, it has at some point. We don't hold on to things unless we somehow think or believe that it is working for us in some way. And it is comfortable to you because it is familiar to you. And that's where there's that cognitive dissonance I had between, right, knowing that investing would be good for me, but I was too afraid to do it. So even though it made me comfortable to not invest, I was actually hurting myself financially. So let's see which scripts that we have here. And by the way, there isn't one script that one person's going to have. You may be a dominant script. And that's why, you're going to go to yourmentalwealthadvisors.com. You're going to go figure out what your scripts are. But tell me in the chat right here, any of these things sound like you? So script A, just thinking about, talking about, or managing your money cause stress and anxiety. That's probably everybody or most people. That's actually the number one main source of stress for everybody in this country. So I'm going to say yes, we all have that. Do you envy people with more money? Oh, I don't know. Do you believe that it is not okay to have money when others go without? Do you believe that money is the root of all evil and that rich people are unethical or bad? This is not what I'm saying. This is what the script is saying. There is no judgment on any of this. But if you're brave to share in the chat how, if this resonates with you, I applaud you. Script B, the belief that money is the key to happiness. Money can solve any problem. You can never be too rich, and I'll be happy if I have more / spend more money. I want to acknowledge something, and I should have done this at the beginning. Money is also a privilege, okay? Because it is easy, for somebody who's sitting real comfortable to have lots of opinions about money. But if you desperately need it, I want to acknowledge that as a reality for, unfortunately, way too many people in this country. Okay. So putting that aside, right? Because money definitely can solve a lot of problems. Let's really think in the extremes here, right? Money can solve any problem. Is that something that you feel? Again, no judgments. Next script here. Success is measured by how much money I make, right? So this belief of like my net worth equals my self-worth, okay? My possessions reflect my importance and wealth. I feel pressure to keep up with the Joneses. I'd like to know who the Joneses are personally. Where did that come from? But okay. And then I tend to spend more than I have. Any of this sound familiar? Our society in a lot of ways sets us up to feel this way, right? Our possessions reflect our importance and worth, right? So again, no judgment here. Script D, the belief that money is a byproduct of hard work, discipline, and frugality. The belief that people should not be given financial handouts, that saving for the future is important, and that I have to research all purchases to make certain I get the best deal. By the way, no judgment again on any of this, but I think you might notice there's a lot of bits and pieces of each script here that actually are quite functional. I think it's good. We all should be saving for the future. That's important. Here's the thing though. There are downsides to some of these scripts. This is why we need to be very aware of this stuff. So if you are script A, all right, does this remind you of those quizzes a lot of us used to take, in the back of the magazines and stuff growing up? You may be money avoidant, okay? So people who are money avoidant might sabotage their financial success. They might not negotiate, for example. They might also be overly generous, right? Giving away their money to others, which could be an unconscious effort to have as little as possible, right? So having money doesn't, it doesn't feel good to have money. Even if they think they want it, they never hold on to it. Now, money worship, this is a very interesting one. if you are somebody who worships money, you might actually have lower income. You might actually have lower net worth, and you might carry credit card debt because you're probably spending a lot. Okay. The next script here is money status. This is a bit similar to money worship. It's not totally the same thing. But if you are somebody who believes that your sort of net worth equals your self-worth, you might overspend, you might gamble excessively. You might also be financially dependent on others. You might be secretive with your money. And then money vigilant, you're going to be extremely anxious about money. You're going to have a really hard time striking that balance between spending and saving, right? So you might be somebody who just hoards a lot of money. Maybe you keep it in cash. Okay. As good as it is to save, there can be consequences to this stuff. So all those scripts, we all have, again, bits and pieces of those scripts, but the extreme of these, I don't know if any of this sounds familiar, whether it's your own behavior or others, but this pathological gambling, okay, compulsive hoarding, workaholism, et cetera, here. And by the way, financial enabling, that's an interesting one for a lot of parents who have kids who may, are adults, but they're still relying, the kids are still relying on them for money. That's called financial enabling. Okay. So this is all the sort of negative stuff here. Now we're going to get positive. Thank you for sticking with me. Just need to underline here how important it is to really understand our scripts so that we don't, wake up one day and we realize, wow, I've really overspent. Okay. Now it's time for the therapy part, guys. So take out notebook, piece of paper. That is a piece of paper, pen. Let's think about our families. So let's put on the hat of an anthropologist here, or maybe like an investigative journalist, detective type. No judgment at all. Just reflect on your life, money experiences. So starting with your home, how was money handled? And I never read off my slides, by the way. I rarely read off my slides, but I'm going to do that here because each of these questions are so important. And I want you to do the work with me right now and answer some of these questions. This should take you a long time, should be a deep dive, but for right now, it's going to be your first instinct. Instinct is interesting. So trust your gut here. How was money talked about? What's one word? Throw that down. Okay. Was money a topic of disagreement or conflict? Was it avoided? What did your parents teach you about money, either overtly through instruction or by example? When I say parents, guardians, right? Whoever were the adult figures in your household, if you were connected to your grandparents or the elders, right? Older generations, think about what was life like for them growing up? Did they have money? Okay. In general, your family, right? How did you feel about your economic status? Like, when did you become aware of what socioeconomics even means? Okay. Let's do a fill in the blank exercise real quick here. I wish we were all in person, but second best. All right. Money equals first word that you can think of, or maybe not even a word. How about you draw me a picture? Symbol, give me a symbol, give me an emoji, throw it in the chat. Another fill in the blank here. People with money are ... Give me a picture, give me an emoji, give me a word, okay? Now, a couple of other things here are something that's called financial flashpoints, all right? So these are really meaningful memories that stand out to you. You could begin with the first memory that you have. When did you first become aware of money in your life, okay? These can be, maybe we'll begin in, I hate to say it, but the negative. So we're going to start with painful memories. Then we're going to think about happy memories too, if we have any. I'll give you some examples for myself. And then, by the way, once we get to the end of this section, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to just take a look in the chat. We can have a little bit of dialogue, and then I'll get back to the presentation. Okay. But I'll talk about my own financial flashpoints for a minute as you're filling in, as you're responding to the other prompts that I have here on the screen. So I want to say one of my first memories of money came when I was about 6 years old. I was in the children's choir. Grew up in New York City in the Metropolitan Opera Children's Choir, and I got paid $20, which is quite a lot for a 6-year-old. I think it was 1993. Yeah, 1993. So now you know my age. Okay. And I was thinking about all the things I was going to buy with it. I was making lists. I get the paycheck and we're on our way home. And all of a sudden, I had this extreme urge to get rid of the paycheck quickly. I wanted to give it to a person I saw on the street. There was a person who seemed to be homeless. And I had this overwhelming urge. And I said to my mother, can I give them my money? Even though I'd wanted to buy all these things. What my mom taught me in that moment was she said, you know what? Let's give a little bit of money, but let's also research a charity. So we're not just giving it to one person, but maybe we can give to an organization, which is a really, really beautiful thing. Curious here, anybody, who have parents, who have kids or whatever, teaching their kids with their paychecks to give a portion to charity is a beautiful thing. But how interesting that I did not want it at all. Okay. I'm money avoidant, by the way, if you're curious about my script. Another significant memory that I have for myself is that my parents were going to pay for my college. They're divorced. And then the second year of my college, my dad decided he did not want to pay anymore. And I had to take out student loans that I wasn't expecting. Here's the issue. It's not the loans. It's that my parents were then so angry at each other. I became the go-between. Curious. How many of you have had that experience in your life where you end up becoming kind of the messenger between parents and money is a part of that conversation? Okay. All right. And then the last piece here, and then enough about me. I just hope that I'm inspiring you to be a little bit more vulnerable with yourselves and with each other. I call it my chickpea days. I moved to New York with $300 in my bank account, and I lived on my cousin's couch in the Bronx, and I did not have a job until I got one working in customer service at a wallpaper company. Okay. Again, it's a privilege that I was able to do any of this because I knew if I could go home, if I needed to go home, I could. So I always want to acknowledge that. That being said, I was very nervous about money, very nervous. I basically only ate chickpeas, okay, cans of beans. Every time I would go to the grocery store for probably a year, I would feel heart palpitations. So even now, guys, when I ask you, what does money mean to you, feel like to you, and thinking back to your money memories, those financial flashpoints in your body, physically, how do you experience this? And for me, heart racing, palms sweaty, dry mouth, okay? Grocery store. And even to this day, guys, when I go to the grocery store, I get a little bit nervous, but I flip the script for myself, and we're going to get there in a couple of slides, where I remember that time. And instead of trying to fight that memory, I allow myself to be proud. I'm at a place where I can more than chickpeas. Okay. All right. But I carry those, again, it was like yesterday I'm thinking about those memories. Okay. So I've done enough talking for the time being here. Let me take a look at what you all are saying, and then I'm going to get into the let's flip the script, where you are carrying a lot of this baggage still that's not working for you. How can we approach it differently? And I know that's why you're here, to actually hear some solutions. So let me take a look without the share. Okay, I'm seeing some comments. Fabulous. Yes, money equals freedom. I appreciate that. And even defining like what freedom means to you. What does it look like, feel like? Yep. Hearing your family's voice when you spend money in their judgment. Script B, a lot of script Bs. Interesting. Overinvest in the future. Okay. Safety, security. Great. Well, these are all wonderful things. Yeah. My family didn't talk about money at all. Yeah. Your chickpeas. Yep. And by the way, some research, and I'm seeing comments in the chat, which is fabulous. I encourage you all to keep going. Speaking of which, okay. Hopefully this is still full screen for you all. Something was interesting in my own anthropology of my family, which I really encourage you all to do. Hopefully after this, you can start, reaching out to people in your life and engage them in these conversations, was tracing the sort of before after of the Great Depression, because that is a financial flashpoint. That was a historical financial flashpoint that then impacted so many of us. And seeing how my grandmother, who really has never thrown out a plastic bag in her life, just hordes and hordes of bags and wrapping paper and gift cards, that came in large part from being a child of the Depression. And none of this is isolated. So even though we're in, 2022, okay, we carry that with us. So let's talk about money avoidant folks. This is script A. So this is somebody who, like doesn't want to check their bank account, wants to sort of pretend that money doesn't exist in some way, right? So that means we probably look at money as a scary thing, right? There's a negative connotation. So let's really flip the script and think about what are ways that money can positively impact maybe not just my life, but others, okay? How can this facilitate things that I want in my life, right? My goals in general, right? It doesn't just have to be financial goals, right? How do I use money as a tool? Because that's what it is, really. There's this thing called a money date that I've learned from Barry Tesler, who wrote a great book called The Art of Money. She's also has taught for Ladies Get Paid, and money dates. It's a pretty straightforward, simple thing, but quite powerful, which is find a time where you can explore your finances, whether it's with yourself or a partner that feels good. So a date, I don't know, dim the lights, grab some wine, light a candle. And that is when you check your bank account, right? Or do the things that you don't want to do. How do we basically create a pleasurable experience around something that you've been avoiding? Okay. Maybe even reward, right? Set up a reward system for yourself when you kind of chip away at that, right? Another way to flip a script for maybe money worship is to really understand your needs, your deep-seated needs and values and goals outside of maybe expectations that you could be carrying because of how other people have taught you, right? This is the therapy work. I'm not going to go too much into this now because later in the conversation, we're going to be a little bit more explicit about values and goals. One thing I would say is be careful about the triggers of when you spend. Is it an impulse? Is it impulse spending? And we'll talk about that as well later. So for money status, it's similar to the money worship, but just every time that you spend or save, really ask yourself why. What purpose does this serve? Okay. Does this really improve my life meaningfully? And then for money vigilant, this is a person who maybe, really struggles to spend actually. Well, let's create like a fun bucket in our savings account. So maybe even having separate savings accounts related to different things. Obviously being careful with penalties that you might incur by taking money out. So putting all of that aside, maybe you have a special account that's just for, saving up for a vacation. Okay. So it's something that you are going to do in the near future. So you can get in the habit of spending, right? But knowing that's not done in a way of impulse. Okay. You still have control. I also want us to be careful with the words that we use. So when you make these declarative statements, right? Like I am. So for example, you mess up. I'm going to use a work example. I mess up at work. I'm bad at my job. No, I feel like I'm bad at my job. I'm bad at money. First of all, where the heck did that come from? A lot of times for girls in particular, it comes from either not being good at or feeling like we're not good at math. Actually, there's whole competitions around girls in math that I'm not going to get into, but oftentimes that then leads to our feelings around money. I am not bad at money. Okay. No one is bad at money. We just feel like we are and have behaviors that we want to shift. So make sure, catch yourself. Let's replace with feel. Okay. Hopefully that was all helpful for you. I am going to hopefully be able to get these slides to you as well. And also, by the way, if you're all watching this on YouTube, I think we're going to have this in the notes, in the show notes. Let's talk about behaviors. Let's get very specific here, right? This is going to be the 1, 2, 3 steps that I hope you all can take out of today. So let's reflect on money behaviors that we might want to change in our life. Okay. So we talked about some mindset stuff. We're going to talk about beliefs and triggers as well here, but this was my list that is not so much anymore. I want to be clear that I do invest. I still struggle with this stuff, but investing was something that I wasn't doing. I was often overspending, actually. I really had a hard time checking my bank account. And then I just, we never talked about money growing up. Okay. Then I thought about these behaviors. First, where did they come from? Okay. But also, is there a trigger that happens here, with this behavior? So of course in the beginning, I thought investing was too risky. I didn't have enough money. I didn't know where to start. Okay. Overspending doesn't happen in a vacuum. I looked at when when and where was I overspending? And honestly, a lot of it was that scrolling, the social media scrolling, Facebook, Instagram, these ads that were targeting me, and they were targeting me so well. I was watching late night searches on Amazon. I am not the only one here, guys. I know that you're there and watching you. Okay. Put it in the chat. Right? Never checking my bank account. Okay. Well, what was my, sort of trigger or belief around it? It was the fear of seeing how little was in there and that it would make me feel bad about myself, even though it was always weighing on me in the back of my head, right? Out of sight, out of mind, not so much. And then rarely talking about money in my family. I don't really know why, but, just in general society, it's rude. It's considered rude. Okay. So I want you all to take a minute to think about that for yourself, your behavior, the trigger behind the behavior or the belief around the behavior. Then I want to think about, okay, what are the consequences here? And there may be a lot, actually. So take time with this. I'll walk you through myself process here. This is not supposed to be a therapy session for me, but hopefully it's giving you insight into how this could work for you. So what are the consequences of not investing? Losing out on compound interest. I won't have as much for retirement. Okay. Overspending. Well, that's obvious. First of all, I have less money now for saving and investing. A lot of the stuff that I'm buying is just crap. Okay. I have to return things. Y'all know how long it takes to return stuff. Okay. Going to the post office. Time is money. My time is valuable. Never checking my bank account. Some consequences there. First of all, I don't know what's in there. So that's a problem. I'm not in command of my money. I could maybe be making smarter decisions, but I think more that it just weighs on me. It just makes me feel bad. Okay. And that's energy. That is an energy suck. And again, time is money. Energy is taking time away from me. Rarely talk about money. Well, my opinion, if you're not learning, you're making less. Okay. I saw a quote by somebody, learning is earning. It's corny, but there you go. Now I'm going to take you to the next step of the action plan. So when you all do the exercise for yourself, and I want you to do this, start with these columns, create your own spreadsheet here, okay? Step by step, and make a money date for yourself. So if my fear of investing largely around two things, I don't have enough, / it's too risky, / I don't know anything. By the way, there's things called low risk investments, right? Like a mutual fund. Go to SoFi.com. They will walk through all of these things for you. So we really don't have excuses here. I have to say at some point, these become excuses. They're valid. I totally get why I felt this way, but not knowing enough, well, then you go to a professional like a SoFi, right? That there's all different kinds of investments. I'm not talking about putting all my money in crypto, okay? I'm talking about low risk, overspending. What's my action plan? First, I thought it was somehow, a strict budget. Okay, strict budget. But that then made me feel bad. So that wasn't working. So actually now I continue to scroll, but before I want to purchase something, I do a thing called HALT. Who knows what HALT is? It's an acronym, HALT. Am I feeling hungry, anxious, lonely, or tired? If the answer is yes to any of those things, usually it's tired, okay? Should I still make this choice now? Perhaps I should wait a day. And I've heard this from other people, right? They give themselves, 24 to 48 to 72 hours grace period before making that purchase. So it could be strict budget. It could be, a prompt that you ask yourself. It could be, putting a lock on your phone where you can't look at those apps after a certain hour. You figure out what works best for you. This was helpful. Never checking my bank account. I mentioned this earlier, money dates, right? Creating a pleasurable experience around something that you've been, avoiding, like checking a bank account. So now I have a ritual, okay? I check it once a week. I play good, fun music. And I'm really looking at it for just optimizing, like, is everything here reflecting my goals and my values? And so I really have to remind myself there's no judgment at all. It's just taking command and actually looking at it like it's a business. Okay. Instead of it's about me personally and my spending, it's the LLC of me. So there's a little bit of distance I have between me and my bank account. So it's a mindset shift and it's also like a physical shift, right? In the music and, having a time. And then really talking about money. I mean, I talk about it for a living now, so clearly that's not a problem. But I would say, set up a money date. Also talk about it with a friend that you trust and just say, Claire sent me and I just ripped the Band-Aid off. You have to just rip the Band-Aid off. And think about it this way. If you feel like it's rude, well, it's actually rude not to talk about it because you might be able to help that other person make more money or make smart financial decisions. So if you can maybe flip the script a little bit that way, you might find yourself feeling more relief. Okay. So let's do this now. And I'm going to force you all to do this. The behavior you want to change. Okay. Could be 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have you write it down. Encourage you to put it in the chat if you are brave. The triggers or the beliefs, the events, the environment, right? The things that tend to lead up to this behavior that you want to change. And then at least one step that you can take. Just one step. Mindset shift usually is sort of like the precursor or the first, so maybe the next one after that. So let me see where you all are at here with the chat. So I'm going to take a look. And by the way, let me know if you want me to go back to any of the other slides. Okay. So I'm seeing, I never wanted to look greedy, so I never negotiated. Once I get through the rest of this presentation, happy to have a conversation around asking for more money. That is something I'll cover in the last event that we're doing with SoFi on April 6th. Great. Seeing negotiating. Yep. I wish I knew how credit, home buying, and investing worked in my early 20s. I know financial literacy should have been a required course. I totally agree. But as my mother always says, she's an improvement on her mother, and I'm an improvement on her. So we're going to make different choices for our kids or the just sort of younger people in our life. Great. I'm seeing wonderful things. Right. I see somebody went into banking as a profession because, financial literacy was something her community did not have. Yes. Yep. Church kept emphasizing that realizing money was wrong. Right. Money makes life easier. Guess what? You can make more money to give more money away if you so choose. Okay. Freedom with money makes it easier to walk away from a negative work environment. Yes, absolutely. Money seemed like a taboo subject until I began asking questions. There is no stupid question at all, because again, we are not taught these things unless we are lucky to have a community that teaches us. And you asking a question helps somebody else who was too afraid to ask that question. So trust me. So I negative things about budgeting. How do I make budgeting fun? That's a great tee up to the next couple slides that I'm going to get into. So I'm going to just go back to the slide before, because Judy asked me. So she said previous 2 slides. Okay. So maybe, here. So what are the consequences of the behavior if you don't change? And let's be as drastic and dramatic as possible. For those earlier slides about pathological gambling and workaholism and maybe some things you think, oh, wow, I don't have that. Well, hold on now. If you keep going down a certain path, perhaps you could. So let's get very extreme with this, but don't worry. We're going to reel us back. But here, start with the behavior, trigger, belief, consequences, lots of consequences. I also want you to think maybe about why you've held on to these things. Also, where do you feel like it's been working for you? I would say, okay, so let me just acknowledge Olivia real quick, this negative feelings about budgeting fun. I would really look, first asking yourself, why is budgeting not fun? Like, what does it connotate something to you, right? Does budgeting to you equal restriction? So you're going into this thinking, now I have to think about all the stuff that I'm sacrificing, all the things that I don't get to have, how I'm not going to be happy. Okay. Versus, and also where did that come from? That's even replacing the word budget. Like Judy says, instead of saying she doesn't say budget, she looks into a spending plan. Okay. So maybe instead of what's restricting you, it's what is it facilitating for you? So even paying off debt, that feels painful, right? It's more painful to have the debt. Not having the debt is going to allow you freedom to do other things. So as frustrated and as painful as it might be to have to pay down the debt, it is facilitating something wonderful for you. So is there a way that you can, again, flip the script? And then there's lots of, yeah, Melissa, thank you for jumping in. The anti-budget model. Ooh, tell us more about that. Right. And if, and knowing also, where do you like to do things all at once, in the sense of sitting down and making like a huge plan and spending a lot of time in it, and doing that every, month? Or is it easier for you to do little things, right? Automate things, make things painless for you. So you also have to sort of understand how you best operate also. But if it is helpful to look at your life like a business, sort of the goal you have for your business, the investments that you want to make on behalf of that business, selling your business, well, that to me is sort of retiring, right? So if there's a different way that you can look at it, that might be helpful for you. Let's talk about cultivating financial well-being here. And fabulous. I'm seeing Renee putting into the chat her responses to my prompt, her behavior over investing for the future. Okay. So the consequences, I end up with a quote, living paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. Okay. One step that she can take is automate my investments and periodically. Fabulous. So you had sort of the, kind of opposite of me, right? Over investing. I was like not investing. Okay. I love this. And then maybe next what I would give you is, is there anything that you can do to hold yourself accountable to actually making this change, right? Let's talk about financial well-being here. I like this quote. You probably have heard it before or heard something similar. Money is life energy that we exchange and use as a result of the service we provide the universe. Okay. From Deepak Chopra. Whatever that means to you, take it or leave it. I like to, one way, whenever I'm feeling kind of nervous about money, I just think about seashells or sort of things that were traded back in the day. Like it was just this thing. I mean, money is just paper. Okay. If it helps you, it helps me sort of reduce it down to sort of its most pure elements. And it, was just a thing to trade that society has decided that this is how we're going to operate. And then there's a lot of stuff and baggage on top of it that we now have, but it's a made up thing. So I don't know if that's helpful to you, but figured I'd throw that out there. This is a theme that I'm going to come back to. You've heard me say it and again today about how time is money, okay? And time is finite, as money is. So here's my question to you, and dig deep here. Where are you spending it? So first, where are you spending your time? And this is why, as ladies get paid, I really started it with salary negotiation as our tentpole education, because it was a way that as an individual, I felt like I could close at least my own wage gap, right? And that's, and beyond salary negotiation, you really have to look at your career and your job. Where does money fit into that? Because money doesn't buy happiness, right? That isn't to say negotiate, but point being is that these things, these ways of thinking, these ways of negotiating, it's not in a vacuum. So step back. Where in your life? What are you doing? Where are you spending your time? And how does money fit in that? Oh, I'm so glad, Stephanie. Thinking of it as seashells is really helpful. Good. It is for me too. It just sort of makes me laugh a little, right? So I want to talk to you about this thing called the PERMA theory of well-being. Curious if anybody has heard of this before. PERMA is an acronym. I love my acronyms. And it is basically this theory by this guy here, Dr. Martin Seligman, who is considered the father of positive psychology. So that's what this slide is, guys. We're going to take positive psychology and then we're going to apply it to our spending. Okay. But positive psychology is the scientific study of basically, this is fun. It just sort of what makes life worth living. So it's a psychology that doesn't approach life in terms of the deficits, but rather how do we optimize our work, okay? And really focusing on both individual and societal well-being. Are the slides frozen? Well, they're not for me, so I don't know if you can. Still on your turn. Interesting. My screen sharing is paused. Oh, okay. Huh. Stop share. Oh, well, good. I'm so glad you all caught that. My apologies there. Okay, so this is the prompt. So do y'all see now this slide where it says money, time, or find where are you spending it? I think, yes, I believe you can. I'm just going to say yes, though, if you can put in the chat, perfect. Okay, good. I'm so glad you all called me out on that because this is a slide that is helpful to see. So PERMA, it stands for positive emotion. Okay, that's the P. E, engagement. R, relationships. M, meaning. A, achievements. Okay, so Dr. Seligman says that if we make sure that the decisions that we are making in our life fit into these categories, we will be well. Okay, we will be happy. So what does positive emotion mean? What does engagement, relationships, meaning, achievements? I put in a little bit of information here that you all can see it. It's pretty self-explanatory. I would say with engagement, that's really a state of flow in the sense that you are doing things where time is flying by, you don't even notice it, right? It's activating all of your senses, right? Like all cylinders firing, you get lost in sort of the work that you're doing. That is flow, serving something greater than you. Achievements, mastering a skill, reaching a goal. These are the buckets that we want to be very aware of in our life and make very conscious decisions towards filling each of these buckets. And I'm not talking about money right now, because money, it fits into it, it facilitates a lot of it, but let's not begin with the money. Let's begin with our life. Here are examples of each of these buckets. I'm not going to read off the slide because we got more to do here. I think you could see it, but do ask me, if you have any questions here, and we'll make sure you got those slides, and you can take screenshots of this. This is you. Please share it with others. And a way to look at it, by the way, a way think creatively here too. By the way, positive emotion. Here are examples of that you can do to work towards it. I would say cultivating a gratitude practice is fantastic. That's something that's been very helpful for me in the morning. What are the things I'm grateful for? And at night, I do the same thing. For state of flow, a way to get into it is to really identify and lean into your strengths. So not just your skills, your strengths, the things that you are naturally good at, you should be doing those, using those for a living. Relationships, right? How in touch are you with other people? How connected do you feel? Can you do more activities that gets you in touch with other people? You're here right now, so you're doing it. Meaning, right? That can come from helping others. Sometimes that is developing a spirituality practice. Okay, and then achievements and accomplishments. Look in past successes that may shine a light on a direction that you should go in. And then also, with the goals that you set for yourself, being very specific and realistic and reasonable so you can actually reach them. There's a lot of stuff here. This is a whole therapy practice. So I know I'm moving fast, but this is my challenge to you. Where does money fit into each of these buckets? I'm going to, again, starting with your time, because time is money. Okay. Where do you want to be spending more time? Where do you maybe want to be spending less time? You have to be, again, each of these buckets. If you, let's say you're cultivating, I'm going to go back to the examples of things you can be doing here, right? Spending time with people that you care about, you are doing work, you're doing things that are, you are on a sports team, you're high achieving, you got an award, you got a raise, so that's all amazing, but you kind of feel empty inside. You feel like you're not doing meaningful things. Does that mean you quit your job and, go volunteer? Not necessarily, because maybe you need the money. So instead, how do we get meaning in our life? Perhaps that's dedicating a certain amount of time to a cause. Okay. So that's where you really have to figure out, what are you able to spend? So not just like, what do you want to spend, but what is actually realistic and reasonable for you, both now, but also in the near future. So this is where those budget, right? The plan that we can make meaningful, to have more meaning in your life. What are all the ways that can look like? Where does money fit into that? And what's the plan that I need to do? It means, perhaps I want to quit my job, or perhaps I do want to dedicate more hours, or dedicate some of my, spending to charitable giving. Only you know this. This is extremely personal for each and every one of you. I kind of look at this as both sort of the life that you want to lead and also the legacy you want to leave. Whether or not you have kids, there are people in your life that you are impacting through your example. So as you are figuring this stuff out, talk about it, share it, right? Hey, I just I'm a subscriber to somebody's Patreon because I believe in her work. I'm realizing I should share that with people. I should promote her work and also say why I've decided, to contribute a little bit of my money towards this, so be transparent if you're comfortable with your journey in this. It's going to be very helpful to other people. So this was the buckets of reflection that I encourage you to do. I'm going to keep going because we only have about 8 minutes left, and I do want to have a chance to answer any questions that you all have. Something that I like to think of is, you kind of owe it to yourself, literally. Like, you are the most important person in your life. Even if you've got kids and a partner and an animal and a cat, which is in the other room, I am still the most important person, because if I cannot give to myself, I cannot give to others. And a lot of women in particular feel this way, that they have to be self-sacrificial. We have to be martyrs. We have to accommodate others. I understand that, but oxygen mask on first before you can help anybody else. So this is about you. Okay. And then it can be about others if you'd like. Embrace abundance. There's some affirmations that I found online. There are so many ones out there that, having a practice, even if you are somebody who finds this a bit silly, words are powerful. Words are powerful. They are in repetition. So this is part of whether it's in the morning with your gratitude journal, or at night, or, taking time in the middle of the day, figure out some words of affirmation that you just say to yourself. Write them down. Get an image, maybe even of yourself when you were a kid. Say it to that kid. I have a couple of slides here with different affirmations. Again, we'll send it to you all. Feel free to take a screenshot. Things like, abundance is coming. I deserve and accept it. I am capable of overcoming any money obstacles that stand in my way. All right. Tell me what ones that you like here. I am not poor. I am just low wealth right now. Okay. That is changing. I'm open to receiving all wealth that life brings to me. I love money because money loves me. I'm worthy of the wealth I desire. I am at peace with having a lot of money. Money and love can be friends. Even if you don't actually believe or feel any of these things, that actually means you should be saying them. It is safe to healthy. Okay. Trust money. Financial well-being is a new reality. I am thankful for the abundance and prosperity in my life. So many things. The more value I contribute, the more money I will make. Okay. My money works hard for me to make me more and more money. Okay. So lots of good ones. You here, you will find your own, you will make up your own. I hope you share it with people in your life. I also want to go back to something I said at the beginning, is that money is also a privilege. Okay. Easy for me to say all of this in my new little blazer, sitting in comfort. Okay. The roof over my head, etc. So I do always want to just remind all of us that abundance happens when we are in an environment of abundance. And for some, that is much easier than others. And to create an environment of abundance for others, that comes down to policies. So I encourage you all to check out for whether it's local, whether it's your company, whether negotiating your salary, learn more about wages, how to increase wages for everybody. These are some great policies off the top of my bat that can help create environments of abundance for everybody. Here are some resources based on the presentation I gave to you. It came from many of these books here. Signature Strengths Exercise, Perma Profile, that profiler, that's going to help you figure out some of your values around money, where you're spending your money, where you're not. Some books that I have found particularly helpful. For example, Kate Northrup's book, Money, a Love Story, Untangle Your Financial Woes and Create the Life You Really Want, is, I thought, fantastic. Lots of good stuff here. And then I also have more resources as it relates to some of those policies in the earlier slide. Because again, this work is easier for some than for others. So I always want to acknowledge that. But it is doable. It is absolutely doable. Celebrate your progress. And that means celebrate the fact that you even showed up today. Learning is earning. You did it. Ladiesgetpaid.com/book. Come and join. Come and I've got a big chapter there at salary negotiation. And of course, our community, it is free to join. We've got lots and lots of folks in it, all sharing advice, including our video library with 100+ hours of educational content. Our annual conference happening on May 24th. It's virtual. It's free. Getmoney-getpaid.com. I'm at Claire Gets Paid on Instagram. If you'd like to follow me there, I'm very grateful. I also give talks on all different kinds of workplace financial subjects, clairewasserman.com. And if you have any emails about Ladies Get Paid, go to community@ladiesgetpaid.com. One thing I forgot to mention is the date of our next event with SoFi. That is April 6th. April 6th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you go to ladiesgetpaid.com and just sign up for our newsletter, you'll get all the invites. It's also listed under events on the website, and it is Ask Us Anything. It'll be me and Kendall Claiborne back again, the certified professional planner from SoFi, and a lot of the focus beyond answering your questions will be on salary negotiation and investing. But we've got a few minutes here. I'd love to answer. Oh, good. Order the book. Thank you, Renee. You're fantastic. So I want to answer your questions though. So let me stop the share on the screen for the next few minutes. So if you have any questions that we feel like the slides could, be helpful for, I can go back to it. I do actually want to just reiterate what Judy said here. She says, I find myself asking if things are worthy of my time. For example, that costs X. Is it worth working X amount of hours to earn that money? Okay. That is my decision maker for when I decide to buy or not buy, do or not do. Great. So I think a really good example here is, that I hear a lot from other folks is considering hiring somebody to come clean their house. So a lot of judgment often on that. Oh, that's so elite. I can do it myself. I that's such an silly expense. I don't know, all these things. How much is your time worth? What would you be doing with that? The time that you would be spending cleaning the house? What would you be doing with that time? It could be napping. Great use of your time, because now you're getting energy back to be able to do even more in your life. Or maybe you look at how much you're getting paid at your job. Well, I think my hourly is around X dollars. Is that worth it? If I'm now going to spend those dollars, right? And then you may decide, you know what? I'm actually being really financially savvy to hire somebody to clean. No judgment, but it is first about your time and effort. Or then you're me and I realize, and actually I find it to be quite cathartic to clean. So anywho, any questions? Just seeing wonderful things in the chat. You are all, we always have such a great group. And again, thank you to SoFi for making this free. We love free when we can do it. By the way, but that doesn't mean you all should be doing work for free. Make sure you're getting paid. Anyway, any last questions for you all? If I don't see any, so what's a high yield savings account you can recommend? Great question. I'm actually going to defer to all things SoFi for this. And you should come to our April 6th event for more specifics around that. So I know that's a bit annoying because I just asked, what are questions? And now I'll answer one, but I'm not the person to ask. And I know you'll get good stuff from SoFi. All right, everybody, one more minute. If y'all have any questions that you think I can answer based on what we talked about today, I hope this was helpful. I hope it got you thinking. It may have raised more questions for you than gave you answers, but I think my point there is to say that this is deeply, deeply personal. It all starts knowing yourself, releasing judgment, and really being proud of the small steps that you take, because it's the small steps that will lead to big change. Keep me posted. Tag me on Instagram at Claire Gets Paid. I'd love to be part of your journey, cheerlead you along the way. Much love and abundance to you all. And hopefully I'll see you at our next event.